What if all the NPCs in a game were powered by AI? I got an offer from Player 2. They asked me to make a game using their platform, which is built around AI NPCs. Basically, these NPCs aren't stuck to pre-written repetitive dialogue.
Years ago, I was Chinese.
Instead, you can chat with them naturally and they'll respond in a way that matches their character's personality. It's like talking to a real character who thinks and reacts on the spot. So my job was to come up with a game that could really make use of this technology. And I didn't feel like making it just a random text inside the game. I wanted it to matter in the core gameplay. So let's see if we can pull this off. The game's called Fragments. The story follows the main character who's been through an accident and he's lost his memory, even had his face completely changed. He shows up in this place that's supposed to be his hometown. The only way to piece his past back together is by talking to the AI NPCs living there. That's basically the goal of the game, discovering who you really are and what's the story behind you. So without any further ado, let's start developing. So I went ahead and downloaded Player 2 because for any of this to actually work, the app needs to be running in the background. I also grabbed the GitHub files which come with a bunch of handy scripts presets to get everything set up properly. So I created a new project and decided to make it a 2D game. I'm going with the simple pixel art style, kind of like the classic Pokemon games on GBA. For the interaction part, Unity has this input text UI which I'll use so that the players can actually type the messages to the AI NPC. The responses will pop up in a dialog box and I want that chat box to only show whenever you're standing near an NPC. So I asked ChatGPT to create a 2D player movement script that lets me move in the 4 directions. Then I set up player and the NPC. Right now it's just a red box and NPC is a yellow box. As you can see, I can move around as the red box, and I also added a trigger around the yellow box. Whenever player steps into the trigger, the chat box should pop up. It will allow us to talk to the NPC. So the script I needed was actually available in the GitHub files, but the problem was I had no clue how to integrate it into my game. When I opened the code, my brain just went nope. So I turned out to ChatGPT and I was like, bro, please help me. ChatGPT was like, alright brother, I got you. And it walked me to how to actually implement the system into my game. I didn't fully understand it, but it somehow worked out. In the editor, I had to set up a prompt describing who this character really is, how he should behave, basically all the little details about him. That prompt then gets sent to Player 2's AI and it sent back the dialogue, which shows up right here in the game. For this test, I told the NPC that he's a vegetable seller who is always in a rush, so let's see if it actually works. Alright, as you can see, the AI is actually responding to our messages, and the cool part is, it's not actually scripted. Every time you talk to him, he'll respond a little differently. The dialogue is being generated on the fly by the AI, based on whatever the prompt we've set for the character. Next, I created another NPC. He's a college student who's waiting for his bus, and he's got an exam today. And of course, he hasn't studied properly. Now, as you can see, when I talk to him, his dialogue matches that situation. He really does sound like a stressed out student, and the best part, each time I chat with him, his response feels a little different, which makes each interaction feel unique. Now that's something you don't see in most games, since the NPC dialogues is written by humans and it ends up repeating the same scripted dialogue over and over. Alright, so the core mechanic of our game is working. Now let's replace these boxes with real 2D sprites and make the game look visually good. So I'm gonna be using this tileset to build my map. If you play the old Pokemon GBA games, they use this same technique. Basically, instead of drawing the whole map as one big image, they use these small repeatable tiles. The game could then reuse these tiles in different spots, which saves a ton of memory. We're gonna be using the same technique here to put together our map. And since Unity has an inbuilt tileset map generation system, it's gonna make it easier for us. I created the road first so that I get a basic idea of how the shape of the map is gonna be. So for the main character, I'm using this sprite right here. As you can see, he's moving around with the same player movement script that I set up earlier. Luckily, this tileset already came with the walking animation for the character. Now I don't have to create different frames since these frames are already available. I just have to put them in as an animation. There you can see my player has a proper walking animation in all 4 directions, just like those classic 2D pixel games you all know. I set up the movement animation using the directional blend tree in Unity. At first it just refused to work the way I wanted it, so after a long argument with ChatGPT, I finally was able to fix it and everything was running smoothly. Next, I created the first proper NPC in the game. which is a hotel owner. For this, I'm using the sprite instead of the placeholder boxes we created. I took the scripts we tested earlier in the sample scene, turned them into a prefab, and dropped everything into this scene. Then I set up the trigger and filled all the parameters, and just like that, we're ready to test it out. So here's how the hotel owner NPC is going to work. At first, he'll just chat casually, saying stuff like how the weather is nice and all. But then he'll start muttering about someone named Ron, like where is he, where did Ron go? And then if we ask about Ron, he'll reveal that Ron is his employee who suddenly ran off from work yesterday without any reason. So the owner is worried about him and he'll ask us if he's seen Ron. The player needs this info to progress in the game. I used ChatGPT to write a prompt for this NPC's AI. So yeah, an AI is helping me talk to another AI. What a time to be alive. 5 years ago, I would have never imagined this, but now it feels so normal.
Technologia!
So right now I ran into a little problem. While tapping into the chat box, if I use the letters WASD, the player would start moving around. Sometimes he would even walk right out of the trigger, which made the chat box disappear mid-conversation. That's not something that should happen, since WASD is used for movement and also happens to be, letters used in words. So I asked ChatGPT to fix it so that whenever we click on the input box, the player stops moving and focuses only on typing. I also polished the chat box UI, and honestly, now this feels much more smoother. Huge improvement in the user experience. Next, I added a name tag that pops up whenever you step into the NPC's trigger, so the player can instantly tell who the character is, and with that, the owner part is finally done. Now, let's move on to the next NPC. So the next NPC is a librarian. His story is that a truck was supposed to deliver books to his library, but instead it dropped it all over the streets. Now, after talking to him, you'll find that books will be scattered all around the town, and you need to collect these books and bring it back to him. Once you help him out, he'll reveal a crucial information that pushes the story forward. Next up, we got a woman in the park who says her cat is missing. Once you ask her for more details, she'll reveal a clue about where the cat was last seen. Once you track down the cat and bring it back to her, it'll unlock a certain new character, and that character is really important for progressing the story. After that, I added more characters to the town. These ones don't directly move the story forward, but they do give you extra insight into what actually happened to the main character. They drop these little hints here and there, and it's up to you to piece together everything. So after completing the town map, I went ahead and added some props here and there, like the signposts, street lights, and all those little stuff that add extra details and make the map feel alive, just so that the player doesn't feel like it's an empty space with just a few buildings slapped in. Props really help sell the idea that people actually live in this town, and wherever humans live, there would be mess. Next, I set up the colliders in the town map. First, I created the boundary to stop the player from wandering into places they're not supposed to be, but then a new problem popped up. When the player gets close to the edge of the map, the camera still shows the empty black space that is outside the map. It makes it feel like there is nothing literally outside beyond that road. Games should always provide a mystery that there may be something outside that boundary. It's just that the player can't reach it. It is a full world. It should not feel empty as if there is nothing outside that boundary. This is a living, breathing world. So in order to fix this, I set boundaries for the camera movement. Now even if the player walks right up to the edge, the camera stops moving and that black void would never show up. After that, I added some core story characters. These are the ones you unlock after completing certain quests, and they're essential for finishing the game story. I'm not gonna spoil who they are or what happens. You'll have to discover that yourself. Let's just say they are closely tied to the main character and gonna help bring a whole story to the conclusion. I also set up a fade effect using a simple black image with a script, thanks again to ChatGPT, to handle the transitions, and I'll be using this fade along with text to tell parts of the story, since I can't actually use voice acting. Next, I scattered the books all around the town so the player has to go and find each books, and I also created the cat and placed him somewhere on the map, but I'm not gonna tell you where he is. You have to find it yourself. Once you collect all the books, the librarian NPC will switch over to another version of himself. This new version will thank you for finding his book and reward the player, and then will reveal some crucial information which I won't spoil here. You'll have to play the game and find out. All of this spawning and swapping and managing the characters is handled by a script I wrote, which is called the Game Manager. It basically manages the game as the name suggests. Next, I worked on the introduction text that gives the player an idea of the story. It appears with a fade in and fade out animation, one line after the other, so the player gets a smooth narrative introduction before jumping into the game. After that, I wrapped everything up by creating the main menu. The game is now live on itch.io, both as a web version and downloadable one. You can try it out and see if you reach the true ending of the game. It's a short, heartfelt experience that takes like 10 minutes to finish. Hope you guys enjoy the game. Just make sure you have the Player 2 application installed and signed in, and it is running in the background so that the game works properly. Player 2 also conducts these game jams to see who makes the best game out of these AI NPCs. They have a prize pool of $10,000. I'm planning to participate one in the future if they conduct, since I missed this one. That's all for this video. I hope you guys liked it. If you're new to this channel, then do subscribe, leave a comment and share the video. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.